I've been wanting to make this video for a minute. Um, this is going to be an interesting one because it's not really a comparison, but yet it is a comparison. And I say that lightly because you can't compare one plugin to another, especially something like Keyscape, which is sampled heavy. And of course, the people that designed that and spent time working on it have put a ton of effort into it. So it's not going to even be close to what you hear in the MPC by any means. Um, but I just wanted to show you why, and I can understand, totally understand why people would say they don't care for some of the sounds and these plugins that are coming out on the MPC, just because they don't sound rich, they don't sound warm, they don't sound, and these are all just tonal words just thrown here and there to describe a sound, a feeling, right, that you get from when you use a certain sound. Now, I'm not going to do the whole switching up to show you the screen because I'm not doing editing, but I will say that right now I have Keyscape's Rhodes Classic, and I'm using this particular device to play it for you, you know? Okay, to give you a sound. So that's the Rhodes Classic amp version on Keyscape. Just some chords so you can kind of hear it. There is no perfect sound in this. You're hearing it through a little bitty speaker. But the good thing is I can compare them because I'm using the same keyboard. I'm not changing the speaker or anything. And yes, one is coming out of a computer into the MPC, which is what you're hearing from the Keyscape. But you can hear how, even with that, this still sounds really, really, really good. Now, I had to turn the volume up, which you guys probably don't see in the camera right now. I'm just showing you the screen. Just because it's a lot less. If I turn it back where I'm going to turn for the one internally, it's going to be a whole different ball game. You're running it through stuff to get to stuff, right, to better hear it. But now listen to this. Is the Stage Rhodes, and I'm going to go to the edit button so you can see kind of the mechanics and the model. So here's the model. Now I'm going to have to change this one time. Give me 1 second here, because I did some setting changes to see if I could get it to sound better. I'm going to turn it back. I don't want you to confuse loud with better, right? Hear how thin it sounds? It doesn't sound, to me, it just doesn't sound very good. Now, I will say this. I am not a sound designer, nor am I good at sculpting things to make it sound better. I know how to play a little bit. I know how to create music. I know how to mix a little bit. So I'm going to use the basics of what I know to try to get it to sound a little bit better. But I'm not going to do a lot of changing. The first thing I noticed was the one on Keyscape, they're using what I would call is like a Fender amp. And this one is using like a DI basic with the amp turned off, which already tells me there's no amp coming through, so it just sounds thin. So I'm going to turn the amp on, and then I'm going to turn the drive up just a little bit, maybe like 20. So let's see, it was set at 10 and the amp was off. Turn the amp on, turn the drive up to about 20. By the way, I prefer to use the knob, just so you know. I'm going to turn the bass up, not all the way, but probably like 40. drop the mids back about 50. Already the sound to me sounds a little bit better. Probably could give it a little more mids. Let's go at 20. Let's just do 20%. That's better. So you still hear it in there. You could increase the drive a little bit more if you want more grit. I'm not going to do that. The tremolo is on already, so I'm not going to touch it. There's no chorus on the one that... Actually, there's no tremolo on the one on Keyscape. So I could turn the tremolo off. But I think it sounds a little bit better with the tremolo on. The amp is a big portion of what I was looking at. The compressor is off as far as I know. So I'm going to turn the compression on. All right, that'll work for me because I'm not tripping. I'm not going to put delay on because there's no delay. And they use a spring reverb. And the one in here, let's see what they're using. They do have some crunch on the amplifier, so that means the drive is up technically. The bass and treble in here and the presence are set about... The bass is actually set less than the one in Keyscape. They have a tape effect on, which I think gives it a little more character. They are using a spring reverb, which is good. And I'm just looking at the settings to try to... Okay. All right, so that's just the gist of it. So out the box, I'm gonna tell you now, you're not gonna... If you're looking for something that's rich, it sounds... You ain't gonna get it in here just like press the button and it just works. You're going to have to go in and deep dive into the menu a little bit and adjust some of the settings. I think they went really intricate in here and put a lot of good things in there, but you got to go into it and make some changes if you want it to sound better than what it sounds. And then you could always save your preset and then have it so you don't have to do it twice. Just Now let's go back to the Keyscape. I'm gonna turn it up. The Keyscape one sounds very clear. Let me go over here. Mind you, I gotta say this, the Keyscape is running through a cable into here, back out to there. So there's gonna be some slight difference. So it's not a apples to apples comparison. It's not perfect in any way, but it's just to give you an idea of what it could sound like. This is back on the MPC one. So it does sound better just doing a few settings. I think the amp plays a huge role in it. Now, mind you, again, don't pay attention to loudness because loudness is confusing if you do that way. So you can see why a person would go Keyscape all day over this, just because you got, well, first of all, that's just one setting. There's other ones in here that you got where they add effects and things over it, like a phaser. But you can add phasers in here too, so that's not a big deal. I mean, here's the classic with no amp. That sounds good. Sorry, got me. Let's go back here, edit. Gotta turn it back. So I'm gonna say, if you don't do anything else, mess with the amp and adjust settings accordingly. Like maybe dial back that mid a little bit. Increase your drive if you want more crunch. That'll help a lot. And then adjust your mids. I'm not gonna say one is better. I expect Keyscape to be better. You know why? Because it's expensive for just a plug-in. It can be quite pricey. You're talking about close to $300. So for just a plug-in, one plug-in, but it has a ton of sounds, and it's not just Rhodes. It's, you know, pianos, it's everything in one. But you could spend how much? I think about $300 and get all their plugins in here for right around that same amount. I'm speculating because it was higher than that, I think, when they initially put it out. But let me tell you that the Keyscape is definitely a richer sound, but you don't have, it's not the same because you're paying for an MPC and then you're having to buy that versus like you're paying for a computer and having to buy. So we're not going to get all that in depth. I'm just saying, as far as the sound goes, Keyscape is definitely better, of course, and we expect it to be for the price you pay for it. But this isn't bad. It's not terrible. But you're going to have to, again, you got to spend some time listening to it. You're going to have to spend some time diving a little bit into these compression, well, you know, running some compression on it, adjusting settings and things of that nature, to be able to get it to sound where you want it to be. And other than that, that is it for this video. Just wanted to do a little comparison, contrast, however you want to term it, though it's really not a comparison video for Keyscape and versus using like the instruments inside of the MPC. Now, for me, if I had to choose, I'm always going to go Keyscape and the computer first, just because I feel like I get more done. It's going to be better, but I would say for inside of a box, that probably, if you had to break down the cost of plugins in here, you're probably paying about $40 for $50 for those the Stage EP, and it's not bad. Do I like all the sounds in the Stage EP? No. And most of it I probably would not even use. There are some presets in here. I usually stick with the standard stuff, and then I'll add my effects later or something, but that's just me personally. I actually don't mind. I actually don't mind any of the Rhodes, the Suitcase, the Planet, the Whirly. They all sound pretty good. They're decent. They're useful. The Studio EP is okay. The rest of this stuff in here is just very gimmicky, I'd say. So they're adding like coloration to it, like reverb, little things like that, but they're not bad. I mean, that sounds good. Listen, before I would tell you to go out and buy a Keyscape, if you got an MPC and you got a keyboard, I'd say get at least Stage Piano and Stage EP, the organs and maybe the studio strings, and like either Mini D or the Jura, whichever one you like, and you'd be set. You could do all the stuff. You're just going to have to learn that you're going to have to tweak instruments. If you want to make them sound good in here, you're going to have to play around, tweak them, do some different things. And it's cool because you can see what they went in and did. So here's this particular preset is setting. Here's their amp setting, see? See what I was talking about? Like adjust the amp, turn the amp on, put a little dry. And you get that, and you get some nice sounds out of it. It's the same stuff though, over and over, and they put a little delay on there too. So I know that a lot of people say these instruments don't sound good, and I can understand why, because if you're basing it off of something off the computer or plug-in, there ain't no way it's gonna compete. But for what it's worth, a little bit of tweaking in them, you can get some pretty decent sounds out of them. Not bad. At least get your production started, and then later on, if you want to come back and like use and put it onto maybe a better sound you have at home or something like that, if you don't have your computer with you, then you could. Or for some simple, recordings and stuff like that. All right, that's it for this video. Just wanted to talk about that. I do enjoy this keyboard a lot. I like the key bed. It's not the greatest key bed I've ever played on, but for what it's worth, I enjoy playing on it. All right, I'm out.